clicked on this video, my channel's mostly about cameras, DSLR and mirrorless cameras, mostly for video, but also I talk about pictures every now and then too. And today I wanted to talk about Canon. This is a Dear Canon type of just rant. I'm going to try not to edit this as minimal as possible and just try to basically talk to Canon. Hi Canon. Nice to meet you. I think we need to talk. We need to talk about what you're doing in the camera industry, or the lack of. It almost seems like there's a disconnect between your potential new Canon customers and a disconnect between the Canon customer base that you've had for a long time. If you want to know a little bit more about me, I actually own a couple of Canon cameras, the Canon 6D and the 5D Mark IV. They're already a few years old, with the 5D Mark IV coming out in 2016, over 3 years ago. In fact, 3 years ago as of early September, and I got it on launch day. Ever since then, I haven't bought a Canon camera. Plenty of Canon lenses, but no Canon camera. But since then, have I bought cameras? Yes. I bought the Panasonic GH5, which is a pretty good camera. I also bought the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, which I'm using to record this right now. So you would say, well, I seem to be more of the cinema line. Why not check out the C200, right? Well, no, it's too expensive. You're not attracting this type of customer base. What am I? I'm a YouTuber. I'm also part-time cinematographer. I do events. I do stuff like that. Have a great time doing those type of things. And I can honestly tell you that even though I focus on cinematography, I do get asked to take pictures. And when I have to do that, I do defer back to my Canon cameras. But I also have a Samsung NX1 that does an amazing job taking pictures. But of course, I still defer to the 5D Mark IV because of its full frame. And it gives me what I need. But that's the hint. That's the clue. Canon, you gave me what I needed 3 years ago. Is it relevant today? Yeah. Are there better options for cameras? Yes. More expensive options? Yes. Less expensive options? Of course. But there are options. And when looking into my next camera to purchase, because the 5D Mark IV isn't going to last forever, I'm tempted to move away from the Canon family. Now, of course, DSLRs are not your bread and butter. In fact, cameras are not your bread and butter. You've got different industries that you produce for, so cameras is a small portion of what really makes profits for you. But if you're in an industry, wouldn't you want to be the leader? Wouldn't you want to be the innovator? Wouldn't you want to be number one? Number one in everything. Because it's not just about what you sell, but it's also about maintaining the brand value. There is still plenty of brand value in Canon. You mentioned cameras to those that don't know any better about the technical specifications or the complexities of taking pictures when it comes to all the features that you can get from digital mirrorless cameras. And what you eventually get is people saying, oh, that's a nice camera. It's a Canon. Of course it's nice. They look at it, see it's a big fat camera with a big fat lens, and they think the bigger, the fatter, the more expensive and better quality it must be. But with those people, they would look to hire those that have those cameras. But they don't care about how big your camera is at the end of the day. They care about the fact that you deliver quality. Now, Canon, you don't do a bad job delivering quality, but you better believe that the competition is catching up to you. Now, it's a twofold thing, because you were basically the innovators of DSLR video. With your Canon 5D Mark II, you started a revolution. You did some progression with the 5D Mark III, but then the 5D Mark IV seemed to have a few mistakes. I purchased the 5D Mark IV specifically for the 4K, but I didn't need it. I used the 4K mixed with the dual pixel autofocus to make it easier to shoot short films. short little clips, YouTube show, because it's easy and it's high quality, but you failed when it came to the codec because of your internal policies of thinking that MJPEG would be an excellent codec to use. And it wasn't until the last couple of years that you realized you should have stuck to H.264. But then, sticking with a codec that actually makes sense with your cameras, sure, you kept it high end, but then you also still crop. And then it seems that as time moves on, it's like, wait a minute, these video features are starting to get too good. What do we have to do to fix this? Oh, I know, let's remove 24p. Why? Why are you removing 24p? Why do Canon followers now have to defend Canon for their decisions that really make no sense? You're missing the opportunity of a revolution when it comes to kids and teens and those getting older that really want to kick it in up a notch. Not just YouTubers that want to have a selfie screen and film themselves, but also those that actually want to film events with high quality cameras. They're in the know. They're a lot smarter than what we used to be many years ago. So when shopping for a camera, and in fact, attending events that I've seen, specifically like wedding events, for example, every recent wedding event that I've been to for the past 2 years, they've gone to Sony to film. They'll mount their little Sony cameras, A6500 for example. I've seen that a lot with the A6300, mount it to a gimbal and shoot incredible footage. High quality 4K. Sure, it's still 8-bit, 100 megabits per second, but it still gives the people what they want. Great autofocus, 24 frames per second, and good video. It's not the highest of quality, of course, and you actually didn't do a bad job when you released the EOS R with the ability to record 10-bit 422 4K and internal codec of H.264 at 480 megabits per second. That's amazing. Flip screen? Come on. Who could ask for anything more? Oh yeah, why not let us use more of the frame? Why are we limited to such a heavy crop? Sony doesn't crop it that much, but you do. Again, step back. One card slot? What's going on? And then you release the EOS RP. We understand, cheaper price. But then you remove a feature. Why? Is that supposed to help sell more when you have competition can do that feature with its eyes closed at a price that's comparably half of yours with like Sony's cameras? But it's full frame, right? Full frame. Full frame. What's the value of full frame? Full frame, shallower depth of field, and the ability to use great glass and really use it to its fullest potential, right? Who wants a micro 4/3 camera? Who wants a 4/3 camera? There's such thing as a speed booster. And sure, some would complain that speed boosters themselves degrade the quality because it's another piece of glass in front of your sensor that can soften the image. But if I'm not mistaken, Canon, you already softened the image. And those that are used to the softer image on a Canon could get used to a micro 4/3 sensor with a slightly softened image and get 4K at less of a crop with a speed booster at a comparable price. If you say that I need the 5D Mark IV or Canon to produce great looking video, I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine not using my studio lights, but using just house lights on this 4/3 camera and the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. And I'm shooting 4K RAW. And I have the ability to do that at less of a bit rate than the 5D Mark IV gives me. I've already tested that in one of my previous videos. But the confusion of you releasing, for example, a camera, the 90D, which I did a video on, assuming the features that it would have, and I think I was pretty close. I should do a comparison about that. I'll gladly show you if you want. 90D and the M6 Mark II. Two almost identical cameras that use the same sensor, essentially. One that's almost half the price, and it's a mirrorless camera. On the other one, an APS-C sized DSLR today? Why? What relevance do you have of pushing out two cameras that are almost exactly the same? And one that has the ability to perform almost as good, if not more convenient than the other one, just because it has no mirror. Is it to cater to those that don't know enough about the industry? Well, I don't know about you, but like I said before, people are smartening up. Tony Northrup did a recent video with talking about how Sony has been not only catching up, but they went from basically a laughingstock of the camera industry to the innovator and the leader. A company that knows what it is to be on top and then get dragged down, especially when it comes to their consumer electronics market. That market that they've suffered with TVs, I mean, we used to own Sony TVs probably in the early 2000s, and now it's almost irrelevant. If you have a Sony TV, congratulations to the three of you. But in the camera market, it's a different story. They were hungry, and they did what was necessary to take over. And now that duality of Nikon and Canon, you have a third player in the market that's doing exceptionally well and beating out the competition. You even say in your press releases, Canon, that the mirrorless market is what's going to take over and really you're going to focus on. It's nice that you want to focus on that, and I think your camera bodies are amazing. So this is not to punish you completely, but this is meant to push you a little bit. The market knows that we won't accept a camera with limited capabilities just because you have a legendary color science. Color science becomes irrelevant as time passes by because cameras are getting so close to producing your quality, if not better quality, in their pictures. The number one camera in the world is Apple's iPhone when it comes to market share. Their color science is amazing, and if someone else can do it, how long can you hold on to that crown? So this is my challenge to you, Canon, and my ask. You know, I've always wanted a full frame mirrorless camera that has two card slots, a flip screen, and can use the full frame to produce up to 60 frames a second 4K with Canon's color science. But we're not going to get that, and I know we're not going to get that. Canon, the major problem is that the industry is starting to smarten up. Even new people, before they buy a new camera, they do their research because it's easy to do research online. And then when you see all these videos and these articles saying, look, Canon released another camera, look at all these old features, compare it to Sony, for example, that did those like 3 years ago. If you keep on down this road, no one's going to remember the name Canon anymore. You want to keep that brand value high? Keep your quality high. Because right now, especially in the videos, but photography, it could happen too. You're not in the first class anymore. That's all I got to say. If you agree with me and you like this video, hit that like button. If you disagree with me, let me know why. But as always, like, share, and you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you later, Canon.